I flew alone with a 1.5-year-old, and I got stranded in the airport for a 3-hour delay with the toddler. And I was going for a medical procedure, and I can't even pick up the baby. So here's what happened, and here are my tips. But first, a quick intermission to tell you about the eyelash from hell. Do you see it on my ring finger? Right there, where the kitty is pointing. There's a little tiny eyelash. I'm not kidding, I just spent the first 10 minutes of filming trying to get that little tiny thing out of my eyeball. Should I burn it? According to my service dog Buddy, I am going to be getting a migraine soon. I'm in high cranial pressure right now, and I do have my nasal drip going on. Since it's been a while, I thought it might be fun to test the glucose. I've noticed that I get high glucose readings when I'm symptomatic, and I don't get glucose readings when I'm asymptomatic. If it's something like it was cold outside and then warm, I'm not gonna get glucose in that. But if it's like today where I'm turning into migraine gen, then I will be able to pick up glucose in the reading from this nasal drip. Normal nasal secretions should not have this much glucose. So what's going on? Let's take a reading. If you know, you know. I'm back, all clean. Now, part of that drip in particular was some of the snotty boogery stuff. That stuff is more mucousy and does not have a glucose reading. I think that the mixing in of that stuff made this glucose reading a little bit lower than it usually is. Oftentimes it's up in like the 200s. But the drip that happens when I'm in high pressure, that I could feel, that I don't know if you could see behind all of that mucus, is a very clear, thin, watery liquid that comes out pretty quickly, and that's the stuff that has glucose that comes when I'm symptomatic. So just in case you're a nose dripper too, this is not something that happens necessarily when I'm in low pressure or when I'm leaking, and I think that's because I'm a spinal leaker, but this happens more when I'm in high pressure. And I'm in high pressure more often now because I went on this trip. I went on this trip to get patched. I got fibrin patches at 4 locations for suspected CSF venous fistulas. This is making my brain fluid leak, and that's been causing all sorts of problems and all sorts of limitations. Namely, that I can't bend, lift, or twist. That's very difficult considering that I have a 2.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. But when I had the opportunity to get these fibrin patches, of course I wanted to jump on it. But since I'm still breastfeeding the 1.5-year-old and I'm not willing to call it quits just for a surgery, I was like, game on. I flew alone with a toddler, and I'm here to share my tips and tell you how it went. I've got to say, it went great. And I'm so excited to tell you everything I figured out about how to entertain the baby and make it all go really, really smoothly. Even though I literally cannot and did not pick her up. Oh, and by the way, I also have some pictures and videos of the baby in the airport, so you can see just how adorable and wonderful she was being. I do feel a lot better after this set of patches, but it's taking my body a little bit to re-equilibrate, I would say. I'm still feeling a little bit of the fog, the fatigue from getting a procedure done, and I'm also bouncing into high pressure more often than I was before I got the patch. And that makes sense. And one more thing, since we're being TMI about snot today, I'm low-key a little bit nervous I'm gonna inadvertently be like wiping my nose during this, or sniffling, or there's gonna be a cut and suddenly I'm back, but like my whole nose is red like Rudolph because I went and wiped my nose but cut it out and then came back and now it's all red. Sometimes it's hard being a YouTuber because people on the internet can be so scrutinizing, but for the most part I'm only running into the nice ones. Anyway, let's get to it. Stuck with a baby in the airport. Here was the actual plan. 9 o'clock, we arrive at the airport, we check in. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Around 9:15 or so, we're at security so that by 9:30, we're through security and we have found our gate. Getting through security by about 9:30 left us 1 hour until 10:30 boarding. So the plan was that we eat a snack, or, well, really lunch, from about 9:30 to 10 a.m. and then from 10 to 10:30 a.m., she could run all that energy out. We board at 10 o'clock, the flight's at 11 a.m., and then we land at 2:30 p.m. The cool thing about this plan is that her nap is usually from around 12 to 2 or 3. So by planning it this way, she was gonna have a really big meal, a nice big run, hopefully a good pee or maybe a poop while we're standing getting ready to board and stuff. And then once we're on the plane, she's a little bit excited, she wants to look around, she loves the peanuts and stuff that they give us on the flight, and then she's a breastfed baby, so all I have to do is sit her on my lap, have her straddling me, facing me, and we can nurse basically anytime, anywhere. Contact naps are the best. The plan was when she started acting sleepy on the flight, she would hopefully just sleep through the rest of the flight. What actually happened, you already saw it on the thumbnail, there was a 3-hour delay for our flight. We didn't know this until about 10 o'clock or 10:05 a.m. We were just finishing up our meal. I had just checked the flight status about 5 minutes earlier, and I told Baby B, we have 20 minutes until we need to board, so let's finish up and do some running. And then boom, I got a text notification that the flight was delayed. I was already through security, we had already eaten. We live a solid half hour from the airport, so I didn't want to ask my husband to come back and get us. It just didn't make any sense. And that's how we ended up in this predicament. So our 11 o'clock a.m. flight became 1:45 p.m. We finished eating, as I said, by 10:15 a.m., which means that I had 3 full hours to kill in the airport with a baby that I couldn't pick up just to get to boarding for our flight. Yeah. And don't hold your applause. Please applaud me in the comments. I could use it. But I would do it again, and I'm here to help you out. Just a reminder now to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I have a whole recent video about toddler communication skills, and the reason they're so important in my house is because I can't pick up the babies. Everything from diaper changes to eating to washing their hands, using the toilet, and going down for a nap needs to be cooperative between me and my toddlers, because if they don't want to do it, I physically cannot force them to do it like most moms could. Because of that, I have excellent communication with the babies. And the number one thing when it comes to communication with the babies is that I, as the adult, need to hold it down. I need to not let it get out of control. So when this delay happened, I was like, Jen, Mama Jen, this experience is going to be what you make it. This experience is not dependent on Baby B and what kind of mood she's in. This experience is going to be based on me and how proactive I am and how well I take this in stride. I was like, I'm alone here. A tantrum is not an option. So we need to be teammates through and through. But of course, I'm only human. It was still a very long day. So tip number 1, knowing that it is going to be a very long day, keep it slow, keep it patient. In fact, a really wonderful thing happened when we were leaving one of the bathrooms. I overheard an older woman in the bathroom say, wow, she was such a patient mom. And she was talking about me because I was leaving the bathroom and Baby B stopped to watch someone using the hand dryer. I don't know if she's really ever seen someone use the hand dryer before. So I just stood there and I let her watch, let her observe. I didn't interrupt, I didn't rush her. And it meant a lot that another mom noticed and pointed that out. Feels really good to get those little compliments. But it also helped me realize how important it was that I was being patient with her. That's so good for her and her curiosity and her confidence. And it's also really good for me too, to notice those little things in life again. Which is a great segue into number 2. I let the baby lead. I chose activities based on what she seemed like she wanted to do at the time. A lot of the time, I need to choose what the activity is going to be. And there was plenty of structure in our day at the airport, like when I had to keep her in line with me for security. But it's good for her to be brave and explore a little bit sometimes. And usually, she's following Big Sister around. So it was really cool to socialize her, kind of like we socialize our service dogs. She was able to run around in a crowded place and see other strangers and not have her big sister to lean on to help her be brave. I loved seeing her do that. And I loved seeing what kinds of activities Baby B gravitated towards when baby A wasn't there to be a little bit more assertive. Here are some of the activities that we did while we were in the airport. Before we got to security, I had baby B pushing a luggage cart around. Guys, she loved it. She had her Winnie the Pooh stuffed animal sitting in the cart just like it was a grocery cart, and she was pushing that around for many, many minutes. At that point, we didn't know that the flight was delayed, so we didn't get to do that for very long. But if I had known that the flight was delayed, that would have been a really great move, to keep doing that. As we were going through security, I took advantage of baby B's intense desire to be helpful. She loves doing something and then being praised for doing it. So as we were going through security, I was doing things like asking her to help me grab the big bin and put it up. I took off my shoes and she picked them up for me, which honestly is so helpful for my symptoms anyway. And I didn't bring my service dog because I don't really have the hands for him and baby B. So I had a service human instead of a service dog, and I took advantage of that, and she was so happy about it. Once we got through security, you can wait, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes while your 1.5-year-old attempts to put on their socks and shoes. Not rushing to get anywhere, so have a seat and watch everybody oogle at how cute the baby is as they're walking by. Once we got through security, some airports, but not all airports, actually have a little kid playground area. That is so freaking cool. And a lot of times it's actually airport themed. There's airplane stuff everywhere. They have airplane windows, or it looks like a pilot's cockpit, or the artwork is airplanes. It's just really cute. It's all trendy. It's all on theme, rather. And both of my girls really enjoyed the little play area that was there. I did only have one baby with me this time, but both babies have been to that airport before. That's all well and good, but the baby can't play on the 3-item playground for more than like 20 minutes. So a couple of other activities that we did. Simon Says, a lot of Simon Says. And I would say that that's my #1 tip for when you're standing in line at security or when you're waiting at your gate about to board. It's a great way to keep their hands busy. Things like hold your cheeks, pat your head, rub your tummy, touch your nose. Using different verbs and different nouns, you're getting a little homeschool lesson in there too. Look at you, super mom. We did a good bit of playing choo-choo train, any lines that we found along the ground, and then you get to jump anytime there's an ending to the line. And then run over to wherever there's another line and do a jump onto the next line and then choo-choo train along that line. Or, since you're in an airport, you can be an airplane between the train tracks and then turn back into a choo-choo train once you get to the track. Baby B also enjoyed incorporating red light, green light, that game, into choo-choo train and airplane games. In addition, there are big ramps at some of the terminals, and baby B loved running up and down and up and down those ramps. Escalators, if your kid can handle it, and also elevators. Sometimes they can even reach the buttons, and that's a lot of fun. Baby B can count to about 14, but she doesn't quite recognize numbers yet. Her older sister, baby A, would have enjoyed recognizing the numbers on the different gates. But for baby B, a more age-appropriate activity was to point out the gate numbers on the signs and then ask her to repeat the numbers after me. One game I play at home when I'm alone with my 2 toddlers is Ice Cream Store. They like to come up to me and tell me what flavor ice cream they want, and I give them a pretend ice cream cone, and then they give me the pretend money, and then they're so excited because they got their ice cream. So one thing I did with baby B in the airport, in order to help her learn and kill some more time, but also reward myself with a coffee because I deserved it for what I was going through, is we went to the Starbucks that was within the airport and stood in line. And I explained to her how we were going to order the coffee, and I gave her the credit card so that she could give it to the cashier. And she told the cashier what I wanted, and she said the pleases and thank yous. And it was really cute, and it checked a lot of boxes. One thing you'll probably be absolutely shocked to hear is that I read almost an entire book during my time at the airports, and that was for the way there and then the way back. This is the book I was reading, in case you're curious. A great book, and I will link it below. But here's what baby B was doing while I was reading this book. I totally forgot, and I have to check my notes. I gave her Winnie the Pooh. She has a Winnie the Pooh doll that is just the perfect size for her to hug and love on. The things she was doing with Winnie the Pooh were diaper changes. So I gave her a clean diaper and a clean wipe, and she did diaper changes. She was showing Winnie the Pooh airplanes out the window and counting the airplanes with him. And she was also reading Winnie the Pooh a story, which is really cute because monkey see, monkey do, right? I was reading a book, so she was reading a book. And I read her books, so she was reading her Pooh Bear books. Melts me. But yeah, at the beginning of this trip, I brought this book because I thought I'm gonna have a ton of time while I'm waiting in the waiting rooms. I'm gonna have a ton of time while I'm in recovery, while other people are watching Baby B for me and I'm stuck in bed, but I'm super bored, so I should really have a book with me. I just brought this one book because I was like 2 chapters in, but I got most of the way through it during this airport delay, and then I got the rest of the way through it during my flight back on the same trip. Absolutely insane given that I was absolutely alone with the toddler. Next, I want to talk about logistics, like when I had to pee or if she had a diaper and I can't pick her up, what do? I'm very, very fortunate. My girls are such good listeners. And part of that is that we use communication all the time. But really, my girls are seriously just such gems. So when I had to go to the bathroom, all I had to do was keep Baby B standing up and not touching anything. And then I could quickly pee and get us the heck out of there. Like I mentioned before, Simon Says was a godsend while we were doing things like waiting in line at security. But I didn't mention that I also used Simon Says each time I had to go pee. I have a list here of some of the different ideas for Simon Says for keeping baby hands busy. I did clap your hands, rub your tummy, pat your head, touch your nose, spin around, help get my toilet paper, helping with buttoning or zipping pants, unlocking the door, which I feel kind of bad about because she can't reach the lock. So by sending her over to unlock the door, I was actually just keeping her standing up and keeping her hands busy, but unfortunately also setting her up for failure, which I feel kind of bad about. But then all I had to do was let her step on my shoe, and then she was able to reach it, so then she got success. So that's good. Don't want to set your babies up for failure. I know I said that last thing like it wasn't the last thing, but that was the last thing on the list. Diaper changes. Doing diaper changes when it's no BLT for me. At home, we have a toddler tower so they can climb themselves up onto their changing station. In the airport, by the grace of God, I ran into a setup just like that. Some airports have a sink that's designated for kids and smaller people that has a stepladder that actually comes down. So I was able to use that step ladder to get Baby B to climb all the way up so that I could change her diaper on the counter that happened to be an extended counter that was connected to that step ladder. And then of course I brought my own mats and stuff to keep everything sanitary. Wow, I got lucky. We only had one airport poop, and it was that day that we were literally traveling literally all day. So I'm not surprised a poop happened that day. On the diaper changes that were just pees, which were much more common, I was able to just do standing diaper changes. Standing as in the baby is standing up facing away from me and I'm kneeling down next to her, or squatting like frog squatting. It does take a little bit of practice, but it's been many, many months of me not picking up my babies, so I've gotten a lot of practice with this. All you have to do is have the baby face away from you. You put the baby's back against your tummy. You use that to hold the diaper against their back while you're buckling the front. And then it's all set. Like I said, tiny bit of a learning curve, but learn how to do that and you will have no problems at all changing the baby's diaper while the baby is standing up. It's so useful in all sorts of different situations when you don't want to lay down your baby in public, which is basically always. When I went to the airport, I was taking clips of B-roll here and there because I knew, of course, that I would want to make a video for you. And when the delay happened, I thought, oh my gosh, this might actually make a fun vlog. I should vlog this. But I couldn't because my phone was almost dead. And that leads us into things that I would do differently. I would bring my phone charger just in case. In hindsight, this feels so stupid. But when I first went to the airport and my phone was at like 38%, I thought, oh, it's fine. It's like a half day of travel. 8 hours or whatever it was originally gonna be. It's fine if my phone is almost dead, but I wasn't thinking about two things. One, a crazy long delay, like what happened, It's not smart for me to be in a situation where I'm alone with a baby, but my phone is not fully charged. In hindsight, just totally stupid. Now, obviously not a big deal because there are literally 600 phone chargers in the airport. The first person I asked had a charger that I could use. But that's why I did not vlog, and in the future, I would definitely have that phone charger in my carry-on, not in my checked-in suitcase. Next thing I would do differently, check my lighting before I start the shot because this is horrible. Next thing I would do differently, I would have packed more books for the baby because they're very compact, but there's so much to do in them. Books are just great. A great just in case thing, and even if everything went perfectly, they would have been a good thing to have. More books. I also would have had baby B bring her own suitcase again, or at least I would have considered it. On previous trips, it was me and my husband and both girls. So we would have 2 normal adult suitcases and 1 smaller suitcase. The small suitcase is actually my Winnie the Pooh suitcase from when I was a kid. Last time we went to the airport, it kept at least one or both of the girls busy because they wanted to help with the suitcase. But this time I wanted to travel lighter because it was just gonna be me. And so when we got there, I had my over-shoulder carry-on bag and I checked in just 1 big suitcase. But in hindsight, it would have actually been really nice if baby B had a suitcase to drag through the airport, because she would have really loved it. That definitely would have kept her hands busy. And as long as there was an easy way for me to drag it too, I think it would have worked out okay. One problem that I ran into on this trip, since she didn't have her own suitcase, is that when I did have my own suitcase, she wanted to help me with mine. Very, very sweet of her, but that means she wants me to bend down to hold the suitcase so that she can also reach it and grab it. And I can't do that because I can't bend. What I ended up doing was taking a clean diaper and I wrapped it around the handle so that I could hold the diaper by the top and the handle of my suitcase hung down lower by about 6 inches so that the baby could actually reach it. Last time when she had her own suitcase, we filled it with diapers so it was nice and lightweight, and snacks so it was very useful, and she was very excited to be dragging around her whole chest full of snacks. So I think on future trips, I would still check in the big, bulky, heavy suitcase like I did this time, but instead I would plan on having the carry-on be the baby's mini suitcase. Mini as in M-I-N-I because it's Winnie the Pooh, not Minnie Mouse. And then I could split our remaining load between me and the baby. On this trip, I had to carry all the snacks, all the diapers, all the wipes in my carry-on. So having the baby have a suitcase would actually take a lot of load off of me. And then all I would need to do, actually, I'm allowed to have 2 bags on the airplane. So even though she's a non-ticketed lap baby, I'd be able to take her bag and my wallet. It's perfect. It's the perfect plan. And last but not least, a non-ticketed lap baby's boarding pass gets stapled to the back of the parent or guardian's boarding pass. But baby B wanted to hold her own ticket, and that didn't really work out because I didn't want to give her all the eggs. 1.5-year-old is not the basket that you trust with your boarding pass. So next time I might just bring her a fake boarding pass, or an old boarding pass, so she can hold her own. What a great memory this trip with baby B was. And I hope that this video helps you on your next travel endeavor too. See you guys.